what you must understand. There is a very precarious balance of power up there. That's the House of Representatives there. That's who has the majority in the House of Representatives. But the Senate is still under Harry Reid, and the presidency, 1600, Pennsylvania, is still under a liberal progressive ideology. And that's what we must understand. Now, if you understand what happened at Gettysburg, it's exactly what's happening right now. When the Union cavalry arrived to the battlefield, they understood they had to fight a holding action. And they had to fight a holding action against the Army of Northern Virginia just in time for the Army of the Potomac to arrive to that battlefield and be ready for the decisive battle for the next 2 days at Gettysburg. What we're doing right now is we're fighting a holding action. The real decisive battle for the future of the United States of America comes in 2012. You must think of it that way. It is not over, ladies and gentlemen. It has to continue on, and we need you to stay engaged. We need you to stay involved. We need you to participate in this process. We need you to make sure you understand the issues and the situation in this country. Next slide, please. This is what it looks like. We don't have fiscal year 2011, of course. This was fiscal year 2010. That's the budget pie. As you can see, the budget pie, discretionary spending, mandatory spending. That's the big number, that's the big number, that's the big number, net interest. Right now, this is what we're trying to deal with. And we're trying to deal with a little bit of defense discretionary spending. But as you see right here, that is the total spending in fiscal year 2010 of the federal government, $3.5 trillion. The problem is we're only bringing in about $2.2 to $2.3 trillion of revenue. We have a spending problem in this country. That's the message that I will continue to talk to you about tonight, is the spending problem in the United States of America. Next slide. The reckless spending spree. This over here represents trillions of dollars. 2010, 2015, 2020. That's the glide path that we're on, ladies and gentlemen. The budget that we were given in February from the president was $3.8 trillion. In a 10-year period, you will see 1.6 or even more $trillion of new taxes. You will see our debt double from 14.3 trillion to 26 trillion. Now, I gotta tell you, there's a lot of zeros in trillion. This is why the number one problem in our country is this spending problem coming out of Washington, D.C. And when we're talking about $6 billion over a 3-week period, ladies and gentlemen, we're fooling you. The GAO report that came out 3 weeks ago said that we have $100 to $200 billion of duplicative programs in Washington, D.C. That's where we should be starting. If we're serious about getting the spending under control in Washington, D.C., let's go back for the past 10, maybe 12 years and start looking at all these new programs and agencies that have been created. And that's where you start peeling the onion back. But right now, we're playing with the American people. We're fooling the American people. And I believe that in the long run, we could end up losing your trust and confidence. And that's not what I want to see happen. Next slide. This is what it looks ahead with this unsustainable deficit. Now, this here, $400 billion, that represents the highest annual deficit year from the Bush administration. And I just told you in the month of February this year, we hit $223 billion. Now, past 3 years, 2009, we actually were higher than this. We came in at $1.42 trillion. In 2010, we were a little bit lower. We came in at $1.29 trillion. But the estimates for fiscal year 2011 for our deficit is up here at $1.65 trillion. So even though you talk about reducing the deficit, you can see that we still stay at some pretty astronomical levels. And then in the out years, that glide path continues up once again. This is why I said we're heading toward a financial and fiscal Armageddon if we don't correct this and fix this right now. And if this is something that you believe is okay, then go home. Look at your children, look at your grandchildren, and tell them that the history books will say that the eventual demise of the United States of America started right here, right now, on your watch. We have what could be the terrible opportunity of being the first generation that will leave less to subsequent generations. That's the challenge. And I don't think anyone walking out here tonight wants to say, I took a part of that. Next slide. Okay? This is what our debt looks like. That's the current policy for our debt. You can see from here, about 2011 or 2010 out to 2087, out to 81. This is World War II. Okay. We knew that it spiked in World War II because we were engaged in very serious wars, European and Pacific theater. But you can see we dropped that debt down. But here we started climbing again. We got to get it under control. That's part of the spending problem. Next slide. Who owns our debt? Well, let's historically look at that. Going back to 1970 to 1990 to 2010. Look at the levels. $283 billion to $2.4 trillion to now $8.4 trillion of debt held by the public. But that's what's scary. We are now at 47% of our debt being held by foreign entities. And that just occurred in the last 20 years. From 19% to 47%. Next slide. And that's who owns our debt. If you don't think that that is a national security threat, with China having almost 30% of your debt, if you don't think that this is a serious situation based upon what just happened in Japan and their economy, if they all of a sudden shut down funding our debt, if you don't understand that there's a reason why the president went down the road, $100 million was promised to Brazil to help them fight their gang problem. Brazil Petrobras was granted drilling rights in the Gulf of Mexico. The oil is not coming to the United States of America. It's going back to Brazil. During the time when we had the Deepwater Horizon crisis and we instituted a moratorium in the Gulf of Mexico, we sent $2 billion of United States taxpayer dollars to Brazil for their own oil exploration. That's your money. There's a spending problem, and there's an accountability problem in Washington, D.C. Next slide. J-35 Joint Strike Fighters. That's what China can do with the money that they're making off of us. The trade surplus that China has over us right now, the fact that they're owning our debt, in 8 to 10 years, the world's largest blue water navy will not be flying under an American flag. It will be flying under a Chinese flag. Now, why is that important? It's important because if you go back and study history, all great civilizations, all great nations, from the Phoenicians to the Romans, to the Athenians, to modern day, to the Portuguese, to the Spanish, to the Dutch, to the British, they all recognize one thing. Control of the sea, 70% of the land mass, of the mass of this world, is ocean. You project your power through the seas. You have to protect the sea lanes of commerce. If you cannot protect the sea lanes of commerce, a place like Port Everglades that brought in $98 billion of revenue last year is threatened. The Panama Canal in 2014 will be expanded to bring through larger cargo ships. China controls the Panama Canals. It's their contractor state. 50 miles away from here are the Bahamas. China is building a state-of-the-art port facility in the Bahamas. China is all over Africa. China is all over the world. Energy resources and raw materials being developed and taken in. This is a threat as long as they're holding so much of our debt. The fact that North Korea sunk a South Korean naval vessel, killing 47 of their sailors. The fact that North Korea fired 200 rounds into South Korea, and nothing was done. Nothing was said. All because they believe that they have someone that is their caretaker as they do these belligerent actions. This is a huge threat to the future of the United States of America. Next slide. Now, what drives our debt? There's a lot of talk about this. Ladies and gentlemen, understand one very simple thing. Those programs that are on autopilot, the Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, if we do not do something with those programs, by the year 2042, those three will take over our gross domestic product, which means that the United States of America then becomes